Hello guys, so today I am doing a reading on a topic that is pretty personal to me right now, a message from the universe about your loss. So your loss could be, loss of a pet, loss of a job, loss of a loved one, loss of a relationship, loss of a dream, loss of a sense of self, whatever it is. Whatever the loss may be, something that you've experienced recently, or it doesn't have to be recent, something that just stays on your mind. I want to do a reading about that. And of course, this reading is not medical or legal advice at all. And if, at any point, if you feel, triggered, or if you feel uncomfortable because you're reminded of, what you just experienced or something that is bothering you regarding your loss, I highly recommend that you just pause the video, take a little break. You could just not watch the video too, that's really up to you. Just make sure you protect yourself, especially if you're grieving right now. Just be very gentle with yourself. So yeah, I just want to see if there's a message that the universe has for us when we are experiencing this kind of loss. So I will go ahead and shuffle the cards and pull the cards. So we have 3 different piles here, 1, 2, and 3. Take some time and choose a pile that you feel drawn to. And I will go ahead and see what the message is for you. I'll give you a few seconds. Hi, pile number 1. So this is the reading for you. I will go ahead and see what kind of messages we have for you today regarding your loss. So I think right off the bat, I can see that you're in great pain. This person is carrying 10 swords by himself, and that is a lot on yourself. So I can tell, from the get-go that this loss has been really difficult for you, and you probably feel like it's difficult to get it off of you. You cannot stop thinking about it. It's really difficult, and you're really going through it. I think that's really what this card is telling me from the start. Now the Empress card tells me maybe, the person or the pet or the thing or whoever you lost could be related to a woman, or maybe you are a woman that is going through it. And the Empress card also refers to divine femininity, so I think this card could also indicate how you might be able to heal from it. And I think it's interesting that these 2 cards came out together. I do see King of Swords as a pretty masculine card, while the Empress is like the epitome of the feminine card. So I think that the way for you to recover from this loss, this extremely difficult process that you're going through, is to, restore balance, as difficult as it may be. It's, taking a break, thinking about what happened, reconnecting with nature, just receiving the pain and the grief openly instead of denying it, sort of processing it the way you would process other things. You just kind of let it happen, you let it flow through you before you can let that go. The King of Swords is a card of action, doing something in order to feel better and to recover from this loss and grief. So I think after you have sort of openly received and accepted where you are right now, it will be important for you to take some actions. The actions may involve, sharing about your loss with other people, doing something to, remember what you lost. Or if it was, like loss of a job or something like that, maybe you can apply to a new one in order to sort of move on from it. But this card, the Empress card came before the King of Swords. So I do think that it is important for you to receive this loss and receive this grief and this pain, honestly, before, it's important for you to do that first, okay? Kind of let it pass through your system. Know that it is completely normal. It is completely natural. And, the process that you're going through, maybe you're going through the grieving process, it is completely normal. And what's really important is that you don't resist it. Don't try to forget about the loss or the grief, by acting out, like just denying it, rejecting it. Maybe you kind of resort to like unhealthy behaviors like alcohol or like drugs or like acting out. We don't want that to happen, okay? We want you to receive it and accept it before you can take any actions about it. And obviously it's not easy, right, to accept that this happened to you, and it might not even be something that you can do on your own. If you need help from somebody as you go through this process, I think that might also be really helpful. Maybe you could talk to a therapist, meditation teacher, a spiritual healer in your community, somebody that maybe understands what you're going through. So maybe you could even find a support group on social media, on Facebook, and just kind of receiving it, experiencing it fully before you can let go. I think that's like a very important message that we have here. Okay, so the Empress card definitely stands out to me. And you don't need to rush this process. And after a while, after you have fully, completely experienced the loss and the grief, I do think that you will be ready to take some actions about it. Maybe, if it's somebody that you lost, maybe if it's like the end of a relationship, you could put yourself out there only after you have sort of received completely, the loss and everything. So you could put yourself out there, again, without fear. King of Swords, there's no fear, okay? You're the master of action, mental clarity. You don't need to fear. You don't need to worry. Just because something bad happened in the past doesn't mean that it'll be repeated in the future, okay? So, or, if you like lost a loved one or a pet or something like that, maybe doing something to remember them, appreciating them, remembering them. Maybe if you have like other pets, take really good care of them. Just kind of, remembering them and also realizing that you also have your life that you need to live, you know. And whoever was, you know, is not in your life anymore, I don't think that they would want you to just like sit and linger, right, on this loss forever. I think if it was, especially if it was somebody that loved you, they would want you to move again. They would want you to be happy again, okay? So they would want you to take actions and move on, knowing that, you know, if they passed away, knowing that they are there to, you know, always watch you from above, okay? So I'm just remembering, like, or just seeing these like this pair of birds that are flying, right? So it's kind of like, you know, far, but it's like kind of also next to the king here. So like the birds are kind of there and they're watching the king, you know, they're flying together, right? They're not alone, they're not sad, and they are there for you as you, you know, sort of take more actions and move on with your life. And of course, this doesn't have to happen immediately. You can take as much time as you need, but just knowing, okay, that they are watching you and they're there for you, especially if you lost a loved one or a loved pet, right? So I think these two cards really tell us what we can do after we are going through this difficult process. And this final card, I think, is very much related to the King of Swords. It's about expansion. It's about, you know, making things happen. So with, you know, a mental clarity that you achieve, or like peace or calmness that you achieve after you have sort of processed it, you will be able to take actions. You will be able to, you know, move forward with your plan. You will be able to sort of go about your life, okay? This obviously will not happen overnight, but, you know, I think as long as we honor this process, we honor this feeling, we honor the fact that we experienced a loss and, you know, it's painful, as long as we sort of go through the process slowly and gently, I do think that you will eventually be able to move on and be happy again. So, you know, this guy was holding 10 wands, and at the end, he only has 3, and he's not even carrying any of them, okay? He's just kind of ready to move on, ready to put themselves out there, ready to get that new job, ready for a new love, ready for, you know, a new life, you know, maybe without the loved ones, you know, as, you know, it's not the same, but you do need to eventually, you know, not dwell in the grief, and they wouldn't want you to, you know, dwell in that grief forever, right? So this is something that can happen after a while, after you have processed and received everything, and you take all the right actions to sort of put yourself out there or to move on from carrying these 10 of wands. So that's the message that I got for you regarding your loss. Let's take a look at what other messages we may have. Okay. Music, rebirth, domestic harmony. So I think it's pretty straightforward. You know, as you go through this process, music may be a pretty good source of comfort, right? You know, if you lost a loved one, maybe it will help you, you know, to sort of listen to all the sad breakup songs or love songs, so that you can fully receive the feeling and experience the feeling before you can really move on from the grief that you're experiencing. Or if you are an artist, if you're a songwriter, write a song about it. Just try to find ways to honor this pain, honor this loss. And music is, of course, an amazing way to express the feelings that we may not know how to put in words, right? It's all about our emotional state. So I think music is a really great tool for you to sort of process this grief. And I think rebirth is telling me that even though this process was difficult, you will be able to move on and have a life that's, you know, a little different, but it's also great. You know, you're going to be reborn from the ashes of the grief and the loss and the pain that you've experienced. You will get better. Or, you know, maybe you'll have another life in you, or like in your life. So maybe you will be getting another pet, or you know, if you lost like maybe your baby, maybe you miscarried or something, you might be pregnant again and be able to give birth to a new person. Yeah, so a new child. So I think this is a really good sign. It kind of, you know, I think indicates that everything in life, it really is a cycle, and it goes around, right? Up and down, loss, gains, you know, joy and sadness. Rebirth is a card that tells us everything will be okay, you will be made whole, and, you know, something amazing will come to your life, even though you've experienced this loss recently. The domestic harmony card, I think, is, you know, the message that I'm getting is that it will be really useful for you to actually depend on your family or rely on your family as you go through this process. So why carry 10 of Wands, you know, all those heavy wands all by yourself when you can share it with other people and just make it so much lighter? Domestic harmony, I think the message that I'm getting is that, you know, if you need to, or if you want to, talk to your family about it. They may actually be a surprisingly good source of insight and comfort and love as you go through this process, okay? And the Empress and the King of Swords also remind me of maybe parents. It's heterosexual, you know, parents doesn't have to be, you know, obviously men and a woman. It could be men and a man, women and women, you know, like just symbolic of parents. So I think domestic harmony could also, like, you know, indicate maybe, you know, try to connect with your parents about what happened and see if you can get, you know, help from them, you know, comfort, insights, wisdom. Maybe they may be able to share with you something that, you know, that they have lost or they experienced. I think that'll be another source of comfort for you. Or it could, you know, even be friends or even your pets, right? Domestic, it means just your family, you know, somebody that you live with. So like try to maybe, you know, connect with just loved ones around you, right? Animals and humans, as you try to process this grief. Okay, now let's take a look at the last set of words or messages that we have here. To the sea. Never-ending story. Okay. So I think that this card does tell me that maybe your loss is about a pet, or maybe it was somebody that you were exchanging a lot of things with. You know, you're exchanging time with them, maybe you're exchanging your talents with them, your gifts with them. Something that you lost, you know, maybe was something that was positive in your life and that you wanted and that you loved, and you just got a lot from them. You also received, but also you gave a lot as well. So it was like, you know, like a harmonious relationship of giving and receiving. Or maybe you put in labor and then they paid you with, like, you know, they gave you paychecks. So it does indicate that your, you know, relationship with this target or this object or person that you're experiencing a loss with was somebody that gave you a lot and you also gave them a lot. So I think that's, yeah, another clue as to what kind of a loss this was. You know, the first thing that popped up in my mind when I saw this card was, you know, maybe it's a loss of somebody that did pass, you know, and is on the other side. You know, to the sea reminded me like maybe it's, you know, kind of scattering like the ashes, or, you know, in the sea, or like a body of water, or like, you know, a park, or, you know, nature, just letting them go back, right, to where they came from. That's also like, you know, another reminder that everything is a cycle. We all get born, you know, at one point, but we also all die, you know, eventually. And maybe it was time for them to, you know, go back to nature, even though we weren't really ready to let it go or let them go. So I think that's definitely indicating that. Or, you know, maybe it was, even if it was like not a person, you know, loss of something that's dear to you. I do think that this card is reminding us that everything is cyclical. And while we don't understand exactly why this happens, there is a divine law in nature that is moving everything forward, moving everything in a cycle. So I think that it might be helpful for you if you accept it, right, over time, right? It doesn't have to be overnight. You know, if you start accepting that this is something that happened and that you will be able to recover from it. I do see a lot of sevens here, 27, 7, and 37, so 7 might be a significant number for you. And never-ending story, you know, I think this is really another, you know, sign that even though this thing or this person or, you know, this animal, you know, whatever it is no longer with you, the story doesn't really end. It actually never really had a start or a begin or an ending, okay? So I really believe that there's no start or finish to really anything, you know, like death is a door that people enter into, and, you know, birth is the same, you know, birth is the end of something and the beginning of something else. I think I see death as the same thing. Like there's no end or beginning. They have, you know, just like clouds that, you know, then turn into rain, then, you know, turn into rivers and other bodies of water, and then turn back into the clouds, right? They evaporate and then become clouds again. It's like things are moving in a cycle and they never really go away. They're always there, you know, with us. Okay? You may not feel it in every moment, you may not think about it at every moment, but whatever it is that you lost, you know, never went away. It's always with you. Okay? And that I don't think that you should see it as something that's gone. It doesn't end. That's the cycle of life. That's the circle of life. That's the cycle of nature and everything really in our life. And as you know, if we can get rid of this double notion, right, left or right, start or finish, you know, birth and death. if we can get, let go of those notions and just realize that everything is connected, it's a circle, it's just all one, we're all connected, I think that, will be really, really, it'll be like something that can help you understand what is going on. The loss of something also means that, you also now have possibility of, getting something again, right? There's space for more. And I think that we want to remember that nothing really completely disappears. And the person that we loved, right, or the animal that we loved, it's always with us. It's also, it's always a cycle. Okay? So remember that, and I think that's all the messages that I have for you today. I hope this was helpful for you, and if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back with another one soon. Bye, guys. Hello, pile number 2. These are the cards that I pulled for you, so let's go ahead and see what kind of a message we have from the universe. So I think that something that you lost recently, or somebody that you lost recently, right? It was maybe something or somebody that was like pretty magical. It felt like almost surreal. And you got so much joy out of it. You got a lot of happiness, from it or from them. And whatever you experienced really felt magical to you. And I think that's really being indicated with this card, the Magician card. It was maybe somebody that was so full of life, so full of joy, so full of wisdom, or, happiness. Or maybe it was like a blissful relationship, or a pretty awesome job, where maybe you got to really kind of be yourself or express yourself freely. And this card, oh baby, I think this card is indicating the lost part. Okay, so it was time for judgment. People had to answer, their calls, right? It might mean that somebody was taken from you, or, the relationship ended, the job was lost, or maybe you lost a sense of yourself. Maybe this is like your childhood, and like you sort of had this magical sense about yourself, like you felt that everything was possible, you felt that you could accomplish anything like a magician, and somehow you lost that sense. So the magic was kind of gone, or the person was gone. Maybe they disappear from your life, or maybe they pass to the other side of the world, to the other side, I meant. So I think this is the card that indicates the end of that. And I think currently you seem to be confused. You seem a little bit lost. You don't really seem to understand how how you should live your life, or like, what decisions you have to make regarding this loss. And you're kind of, maybe you are still in the process of grieving, but I think the other thing that I'm really seeing is that you maybe have already like done a little bit of processing regarding your grief or your pain, and you're sort of you know, on the step of like getting ready to determine what your next steps are gonna be. You know, how are you going to remember this thing or this person, or what are you supposed to do not that this didn't work out? You know, should I live here, should I live there, should I, you know, put myself out there again on a dating app, should I get another puppy, should I get another cat, should I do this or that? Okay, so when something magical like this ended, it really left you a little bit clueless, right, as to how you're supposed to live, almost like, you know, where you're supposed to go. I think especially, you know, this could really mean, you know, like a loss of a sense of self, or like the joy that you felt as a child, or the dreams maybe that you had as a child, and now you're like sort of, instead of just delving right into the magic, you're kind of like thinking with your rational mind, what am I supposed to do? How should I recover? How should I move on from this? Okay, so I think this is okay. Okay, it's okay to be in this state, because I think you will get a little bit of mental clarity, and you will be able to take actions pretty soon. And it's indicated with this Page of Swords. I don't know why, but this this tree sort of like, I don't know why, but like I got like this Facebook logo feel from it. I'm not sure if Facebook is relevant to you at all, but this kind of looks like the Facebook logo. So maybe something that, you know, you decide to do may involve Facebook or other forms of social media. Maybe, you know, something that you decide to do is like share about your loss, you know, on Facebook or on Instagram or on like TikTok or whatever, you know, Twitter, whatever you use. You might decide to share about your loss and get support from people. You might, you know, maybe connect with other people that may help you, you know, with your loss. Maybe you'll join some Facebook groups, right? Whatever it is, I think that maybe you will be using social media to sort of recover from this loss, or to help you make a decision about this loss or about your life, right? Using social media. So that might be something that comes to you or is useful to you. I'm also seeing, you know, a bunch of birds, right, flying in the back, and I share this in my first reading as well, but I do think that you are being watched. You are, you know, being looked, you know, like whoever you lost is not gone forever. They're there to watch you. They're there to sort of, you know, really be there for you. And so, you know, if it's also like a sense of self that you lost, right, they are there to sort of, they're there like inside of you, right? You may not see it directly, you may not see it every day, but just know that you are not alone, and that you will be able to recover from this loss. Yeah, so that's, I think, all the messages that I have for these cards. Let's take a look at some other cards now. Okay, so these are the 3 cards that I got from the numerology guidance cards. Forgiveness is an interesting card, I think, when it comes up for a reading about loss. Maybe you feel really guilty about the loss, or maybe to the person or the pet or the thing that you lost. Maybe you feel guilty that you lost the magic. And I think, you know, it's pretty clear that you're being told to forgive yourself. Or maybe if it's, you know, if you think that the loss was caused by somebody else, forgiving them. I do think it's more about forgiving ourselves, but just forgiving, because this loss already took place and there is no way to go backwards, right? In order for us to recover and to be better again, to feel better, it is crucial that we forgive ourselves, or forgive, the person, or forgive God, right? Forgive universe, forgive the circumstances, forgive that, forgive everything that really caused this pain or this loss for you. So I think that's really an important message. You may want to consult with somebody, maybe a therapist, so that you can sort of go through the forgiving process, with help from others if you want to. That's definitely a possibility. And, this card indicates a couple things for me, okay? This loss may be something that was really painful, okay? So this loss maybe wasn't really a happy ending, but I think that eventually, okay, after you sort of recover from it and move on, I think this card gives us hope, okay? So, eventually maybe, you will be okay, okay? You will never get over this loss, maybe, if it's with somebody that you loved, or someone that you loved, that passed, or that, sort of broke up with you, or disappeared, or is no longer there for you. While this process is not easy, I think eventually you will be okay, and that's the happy ending. Another case could be that the loss itself was a great thing, because now you're able to sort of connect with yourself again and choose a better path for yourself. Even though, this magician card is, it could indicate that what you had was really magical. It could also mean that what you had was an illusion, okay? It was all maybe a fantasy. Maybe it was something that you were manipulated to think it was, maybe that other person manipulated it so that it made it look like it was magic, but it actually wasn't. Maybe it was a toxic relationship. So the fact that it ended maybe was, a good thing. It was a happy, right, ending, because it's good for you, right? That's another interpretation. So either that, you will eventually feel better and you will find hope. That's, it gives us hope. Or it could also indicate that what you had actually wasn't good and it was an illusion and you're actually better off without it, okay? So it could go both ways. And the spiritual career is an interesting card. It's one of my favorite cards here from the deck. I think it could also mean a few things. It could mean that, you could maybe use this opportunity or this loss as a chance for you to develop your own spiritual career, right? If I think when somebody goes through a lot of difficulties and experiences a lot of pain and hits a rock bottom in their life, they do, a lot of the times they do find ways to heal from it. Some of them might involve spiritual things, right? Stuff going to, or starting a meditation practice, or connecting with nature again. It could be a lot of different things, and it might be really great if you could develop those skills and have your own spiritual career. It could also mean that you could just kind of rely on people, right? Also, especially if you're kind of confused, trying to make some decisions about how you can move forward from it. I think a spiritual career is indicating that you may be able to get some clarity by consulting with somebody who is spiritual or who does provide spiritual services for you. Maybe it could be I don't know, a priest, a rabbi, a monk, right? Anyone who is a spiritual or even religious leader, right? Or it could be, just going to a psychic, or talking to somebody who to be spiritual. It doesn't have to be somebody who's in the job. It could really be anybody that is connected with their spiritual side, I think you might be able to get a lot of clarity and kind of comfort and insight from them. And you will be able to move on and feel better. Let's take a look at the last set of cards that we have today. Yeah, new life. Okay, regeneration. Message in a bottle. Okay. So I do think that these cards are very consistent with what we just saw. Okay. So new life and regeneration are very similar cards, I think, right? You're sort of starting out again. You're starting fresh, right? Maybe you're recovering from a relationship that didn't work out, or a job that didn't work out, or a friendship that didn't work out, or maybe you lost somebody that you love to illness or to sudden death, or whatever it may be. It could indicate that if it was a loss of a loved one, they may not exist besides you physically, but they're always there, right? They just entered a new phase of their life, and they're at another place, basically. You don't have to think of it as like, just death, or, this person's gone forever. No, I really don't believe that. I think that when we die, we're just going through this cycle. I already used this metaphor, but, like you look at the clouds, and then it starts raining, and then it goes, the water goes into the rivers and the oceans, and the water evaporates and goes back to being a cloud, right? It's really a cycle. It's really, I think that's how human life is, or pets, or right, animal life. I think none of us really completely die and disappear. I think that we simply change our forms, okay? And we're still there. We can feel it, right? If you have a loved one, like, you lost somebody that you love, you can sometimes feel their presence. You sometimes even might see signs. I really recommend this book about signs. Lynne Jackson, I believe she wrote it. It's all these ways that our loved ones who passed send us different signs, right? To let us know that they're there, still there for us, and that they're thinking of us, they're protecting us, they're watching over us, okay? So that could mean, that, even though we may not see it physically, the person that we lost, the animal that we lost, they're still with us, and they never really left. They love us. Why would they, leave our sides, right? Love does transcend death, in my opinion, and we're just going through this cycle, right? Like the clouds and the rain and the oceans. So that is, I think, what that could indicate. Also, if you are sort of thinking about what you could do and trying to make a decision about how to move forward, this card is also giving me hope that, whatever you do that, comes after your decision will be great. You will enjoy it. You will be amazing. It'll be maybe something better than what you had before, right? If it's like a job or a relationship or like a friendship or a project, maybe, you left a project, you're thinking about how you can move forward, you'll have something amazing. Regeneration, right? Just, kind of collecting all the life force, sort of recovering from this, maybe through forgiving yourself, right? And consulting with spiritual people, you will be able to regenerate and move on and get to a better place. So the message in the bottle card is telling me that maybe this is a sign that was meant for you. Okay, so maybe you had to watch this video to know that you will be okay, and that whoever you lost, if it's a loved one, that they're there for you. This is the sign. Okay, this video, this reading is the sign for you that they're still there for you. You may not realize, but just gave you the sign. Okay, and don't worry, about, you know, that person, because they're doing fine, and they still love you, and they cannot wait for you to see the sign. They cannot wait to see you, you know, eventually, and they absolutely love you. That's all the message that I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and comment, and I will see you guys in another video soon. Bye. Hello, pile 4. So these are the cards for you. Let's see what message the universe has regarding your loss. It's pretty interesting that the first 2 cards are about the cups, and then the other 2 are about the swords, and we do see 2 aces. So I think that you're feeling a lot of things, I think, currently. Strong emotions, strong mental clarity in the future. So yeah, I think that the Ace of Cups indicates that whatever you lost, right? It could be a job, a relationship, a loved one, whatever it was, or whatever they were, you know, it could be a pet, right? It was like a very emotional connection. Maybe you were like completely in love with this person, or you absolutely loved your pet, right? Your dog, or your cat, or, you know, your bird, or maybe, you know, you really enjoyed what you had. Maybe it was, you know, kind of work that you really enjoyed. Maybe even like work that made you feel a lot of emotions because you hated it. Whatever it was, right? It was like a very emotional connection that you had with the thing that you lost. It's the Ace of Cups. So I think I definitely see a lot of emotions involved in this loss. Okay, this card clearly indicates the loss here, right? So the 8 of Cups means, you know, regret, loss, you know, kind of leaving things behind. Something is missing, right? You had to let something go. You have to let somebody go. Or you were let go, whatever it was, you know, this emotional connection that you had was sort of interrupted, or it maybe came pretty suddenly, right? So you're kind of left feeling really sad about it, right? You're feeling emotional. You're feeling this deep sense of loss currently, especially because it was an object or somebody that you had a very emotional relationship with, emotional connection with. And while this card, you know, indicates that this loss is not easy for you, I think that there is a pretty clear way forward, right? So Queen of Swords card indicates, you know, direct boundaries, communication, independence. So the communication part does, you know, let me know that maybe something that you can do to recover from this is just literally communicate how you're feeling, right? There were flowing emotions, right? When you had this job, relationship, friendship, this person, this animal. It's really important for you to share this pain with other people, I think. Don't just sit with it by yourself, okay? It's not going to help. The way that we recover from sadness and loss and grief is really to share it with other people, you know, have it be, you know, something that you get support from people on, you know, get support from people. It could be, you know, your friends, your family, acquaintances, people on the internet, like whoever it is. I would really recommend that you communicate how you're feeling, because it's really overflowing in your cup and you are feeling really empty about it. Another thing could be that if this was a loss of a relationship or a friendship or something like that, this card could indicate clear boundaries and independence. So maybe it is telling us that something that you can do next time, or something that you can do in the future, is to have better boundaries and to be more independent. Maybe there was a lot of dependence on the other person or the friendship or the job or whatever. It's really important for, honestly, all of us, right, to have strong boundaries so that we communicate what we want, what we don't want, and so that the expectations are clearly communicated, and the other party knows what we want and what we need. So I think that is a way forward, right, as you recover from this loss of an emotionally attached thing that you lost. And the Ace of Swords does tell me that you will be okay. You will have peace again. You will have a sense of calm in your life again. You will succeed in moving forward, right, from this difficult experience that you had. It comes out successful. It comes out victorious. So if you are currently, if your mind is currently muddled with all these emotions, right, it's maybe sadness, grief, this loss, you can't think of anything else, you're just so heartbroken. This card tells me that eventually time will help you and you will move on. You will be happy again. Okay, you will have mental clarity again. You will be okay. It may not happen obviously immediately, but by communicating how you're feeling, your emotions with other people, sharing your loss and grief with other people, with the whole world, if necessary, just sharing it, and setting clear boundaries with people, right, or with people in your life, setting clear boundaries at job, whatever it is, right, being more independent and not depending too much on another person, which is obviously easier said than done, but it is something that you can improve on, right? That's going to help you achieve that peace and clarity in your mind, and you will be able to recover. It's really interesting. Every reading that I did today, this about loss, I keep seeing this bird. It was literally in piles 1 and 2 as well, but I think if you are somebody that lost a loved one, or a person, an animal, a pet, a dog, cat, bird, right, whatever it is, whoever it is, they're there for you. They're watching over you. They're sort of not really going anywhere. Okay, I mean, I be able to see them clearly. You may not be able to see them physically again, but they're kind of watching over you, and they're sort of still by you, even though you think that you lost them. I mean, we could even say that this bird, that you connected with emotionally, is still there. You may think that it's gone. You may think that they died, or they're they're gone completely. But, again, I use this metaphor, throughout the readings, but just think of the clouds, right? When it rains, it goes back to, the oceans. When it rains, right? So the clouds turn into rain, the rain goes into the oceans, and then it evaporates again, so it becomes clouds again, right? I think life is kind of like that. So if you lost a loved one, right, just know that death is just a door that somebody passes. It's not the end of something, it's not the beginning of something, it's just a door. And they're just going through this cycle that everybody goes through, like water, right, that goes through the cycles of clouds, rain, oceans, and again, right? So know that as you try to recover from this loss, you're being watched, you are being protected, you're loved by this person, and they're still there, even though you may not see them physically, and they're always there. They're trying to protect you, and to send you signs that they're there. If you are looking for a sign that your loved one is still there for you, this reading is a sign for you, okay? They're clearly still there. So that's the message that I have from the tarot cards. Let's see what other messages we have for you. Completion. Interesting. Health. Okay. So 9 is a really strong word when it comes to numerology. It does indicate, completion. And, if this was, I believe that everything is written, and we may not agree with everything that is written, obviously. We may not like the plan that is written for us, but still, everything is written. And I think that it was nobody's fault that this beautiful thing, or this beautiful person, or beautiful animal had to move on, right, to another phase. It was just completing the part of the cycle that it was going through, okay? So even though loss can be really difficult, if we see it as just something or somebody going through a cycle, I think that gives us some solace, right? Some comfort in knowing that it's just going through what it is supposed to go through. If it was a relationship that ended, it had to end at this point. It was nobody's fault, really. It ended because it was supposed to end, right? If it's a loved one and you feel like guilty that you maybe like caused pain, or you like led to this, ending, no, it wasn't your fault. It was just going through the plan, going about the plan, or going through the cycle that it was meant to go through. So if you feel any shame or guilt about the loss, I think this card is telling you to let go of that. It wasn't your fault. It ended because it had to end, and it was their time. So again, communication card. This is clearly connected to the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords card is about open communication, right? Communicating how you're feeling, the grief that you're experiencing, the loss. You are probably not alone, right? In the whole world that is going through this, right? And I think it's important for you to get support. If you can't get it from your friends and family, or if you want more support, I would even go to like Facebook support groups, or like other support groups that you can find online, so that you can communicate and, just share about it, talk about it, let it out. Because the more it sits within you and doesn't get let out, the more difficult it'll be for you to move on from this loss, okay? So remember to communicate how you're feeling and your grief and everything with the world. And this card is, I see it as a warning sign, okay? This was clearly like an emotional thing for you, and the loss is maybe really, still fresh, and like the grief is pretty difficult for you right now. It feels emotional. And, our mind is obviously connected to our bodies, right? So if we experience really deep grief and pain, it affects our physical health as well, in addition to our mental health. So I think this card is telling me that you should really kind of step up your self-care game, right? Just making sure that, you get enough sleep. You get, you drink enough water, you eat your food, you eat your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, just make sure that you don't let this emotional aspect, this difficult loss, distract you too much from taking care of yourself. If you lost a loved one, they wouldn't want you to neglect your health. Why would they want that, right? They love you. They care about you. They're watching over you. They want you to do okay. They want you to do well. So this is telling me that it's really important for you to, you know, continue to take care of your health. If it was, you know, a loss of a job or a friendship or, you know, something less, you know, difficult than maybe losing a loved one, you know, still don't let this loss affect you physically too much, right? It also means spiritual health, right? Really like emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, any kind of health, okay? So this is not gonna last forever, okay? Time does heal, time will heal. This too shall pass. It's important for you to take care of your health, especially as you try to recover from this loss, you know, and it feels really emotionally difficult. Don't neglect your health, okay? Remember to just take care of yourself, because that's what if you lost a loved one, that's what they would want you to do, to not neglect your health and, you know, continue to be your best version, right? To be strong, be healthy. So that's the message. Let's see what other messages we have here. Oh, okay. To be honest with you, I think I still I see a lot of kind of grief still, you know, maybe a little bit of agony. This was a beautiful thing that you had, or a beautiful person, right? Beautiful animal, beautiful thing that you had. And I do think that, you know, it's difficult for you to sort of move on from it really easily. And that makes sense. You know, why would it be difficult, you know, easy to move on? If you you know, had something that was great, that was something beautiful, somebody that you absolutely loved. So yeah, these cards definitely indicate that, you know, you might be really still going through it. Okay, you're feeling a little lost, you feel alone, you feel isolated. You keep asking why did this happen? Why did they have to go? Why did it have to end? Why did I have to be let go, right? I do think that this card though still gives us a little bit of hope, okay? So like, you know, the whole thing that I mentioned about changing our perspective on what a loss is, right? Kind of, you know, seeing death as somebody just going through a cycle and they're not really leaving. They never really left. They were always there, right? And they will always be there. Or, you know, if it was loss of a job or loss of, you know, friendship, kind of being flexible with like how you see it, right? Changing your perspective, and knowing that you will have something really amazing. You will have success, you will have clarity, you will have peace. I think knowing that is something that's really important for you. While this is not really a really easy loss, right? Easy transition, as long as you sort of maybe step away a little bit from the emotional part of you and kind of try to see it more, you know, with like a logical mind or more rationally, right? Sort of going back to the drawing board, okay? Sort of, you know, instead of asking why this happened, just accepting, right, that this had to happen and it wasn't anybody's fault, right? Just being a little more flexible with how you think, I think will be a really good way for you to move on and to really recover from this loss. I do feel a little bit called to pull some more cards from this deck. Yeah, so let's see what we have. Okay, we have the words co-create. So I do think that this card is telling me that, you know, if you lost a loved one, you guys are still together. You may not be able to see the bird, the owl, because you're not in the same realm as the owl, but you guys are still next to each other. This is, you know, confirmation that your loved one and you are, you know, even though you guys may be at a different level, you guys are still together, okay? And so instead of feeling really isolated and alone, I think that you should change your perspective and see the truth, which is that somebody that we love or somebody that really loved us never really leaves our side. They're still there. All we need to do is just remember that they are there, that they love us still, and that we love them still, okay? We're co-creating our reality together. You may not see them, or you may not think, you know, that they're next to you, but they are. So bring your awareness to the fact that even though you may think that you lost this beautiful thing or this beautiful person, especially if they passed, okay, they're still there, and you don't have to really despair. Okay, so, you know, if you're really going through it, I'm really sorry, you know, that this happened. But I also know that you will feel better, and that, you know, you should take care of yourself. I think, you know, loss is something that really every human experiences one way or another at, you know, some point in our lives. And I think what really is important is that we see that truth, that life is really, you know, full of losses, but also it is full of joy and beautiful things, you know. Instead of mourning the loss of the beautiful person or the beautiful animal, the beautiful thing that we experience, I think it's really great to change our perspective, be flexible, and, you know, feel grateful that this happened, that this, you know, person or thing or animal came to our life, and we had such a beautiful, beautiful experience together. Okay, so that's all the message that I have for you. I will end here. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and comment, and I will see you guys in another video. Bye.